Gnostic Gospel of Thomas is one of my very, very favorite spiritual texts. It's right up there with the Tao Te Ching and the Upanishads as one of those classics that in a very simple and direct way gets right to the heart of reality, and that has the ability, if you allow the insights that it presents to penetrate deeply into you, it has the ability to awaken you on the spot. Now, as a Gnostic gospel, it did not make it into the canonical Christian Bible for reasons that are pretty obvious if you get to know it. Christianity, as an institution, has to follow the same kind of institutional protocols that humans follow, right? There has to be a hierarchy. So what the Gnostic Gospels present is the idea that we are all God, right? Not that Jesus Christ, one man, was the one and only Son of God who incarnated as God on earth to die for our sins and redeem us, but that he came here to help show us that we are that. That's a very, very different way of looking at Jesus, and it's one that certainly does not fit the party line in Christianity. And, if you think about how Christianity kind of took off about 2,000 years ago, you had the Roman Empire, which was on the decline, huge institutional force in Europe, and as it died, those structures were still in place, and Christianity came in to fill the vacuum, almost like a hermit crab coming and taking over another animal's shell. Okay? That's what happened. And in order to establish this worldwide religion and have people fall into line and become a political power in that way, you cannot have everybody believing that they are God, that they are all the Christ. Okay? So, naturally, Gnostics were frowned upon as heretics. People were killed, people were persecuted. These texts went underground, were lost for thousands of years, only to be discovered again, most of them, in 1947 in the Nag Hammadi Library in Egypt, which was buried, out in the desert somewhere and just stumbled upon by accident. But now, more and more people today are kind of coming to this knowledge, right? People, I don't like to make any big pronouncements about the direction that humanity is going and like say that we're on the verge of some utopian, fantasy coming true. But I do think that it's true that more people are awakening today than ever before in human history. Just larger numbers of people are awakening and having that basic Gnostic insight of, wow, I know who I am. And so it's perfect that these texts should show up once again, only about 60 years ago or 70 years ago. So I want to share a passage, okay? And I'm going to do this for the next several days. I'll share different passages from the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas because they're just so great. Some of them are like riddles that you have to really kind of pick apart and get before you get them, okay? But this one speaks to the sort of difference between the direct Gnostic experience of who you are, of the divinity within, of ultimate reality, versus the institutionalized religion, okay? And in this passage, like a lot of passages, Jesus refers to the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven in this book it's not a place in the sky, right? It's not some separate existence. It's not some place where God dwells that is separate from here. It's within you, okay? The kingdom is in you and in all things. And he says, the kingdom is like a man who had a treasure buried in his field but did not know it. And when he died, he left it to his son, but the son didn't know it either, so he sold the field. Now the buyer went plowing in the field and found the treasure, and he decided to lend it at interest to whomever he wished. So we can think about that treasure, right? That treasure deep within us, that knowledge of who we really are, which, most of us just go our lives not knowing, right? We're born forgetting, and we never, ever remember before we die, unless we have that experience of gnosis. I know who I am. So, in history, it's been, the special kind of privilege of a few people to have such experiences, right? And based on those experiences, religions form. And this is the idea of lending it at interest, right? We all have it within us, but most of us don't know it. Most of us are not so fortunate as to have the direct experience, but we still have the impulse. We're still called to it. We're still attracted to it. And so along comes somebody who sees it, who has it, and then, maybe a few generations pass, people take their interpretation of that person's experience, or their interpretation of interpretations of that experience, and gradually a religion forms, and people get the experience secondhand, right? And so that's what happens. This is not to put any religions down. It's a perfectly worthy way into the experience. But it is like, and I forget if it was Joseph Campbell or Carl Jung who said this, but they said that religion is basically a way to guard against having a religious experience. Meaning that, you get caught up in the forms, you get caught up in the interpretations and the dogma, and you cannot have a direct experience anymore. You get something, but it's secondhand. So, for people on the path of real awakening, we don't want secondhand. We want it direct. And the beauty of this text right here is that it says that at any moment, you can wake up. So, stay tuned for the next one. I'll go into some more passages. Anyway, if you are interested in learning more about my work, any astrological work, alchemical work, and so on, please visit my website, 21stcenturyalchemy.com, where the word is all spelled out. Talk to you later. Thank you.